Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is the Drunkduck Quackcast. I'm misogynist. With me is Tarts and Baines. Hello.
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 We're all in a well. Okay, cue the theme music. That was the Drunkduck theme music. So we're back. And what are we doing? Well, we're doing the Drunkduck Quackcast as usual, but this time we're talking about cultural context and how they change and how you have to sort of get abreast of the cultural context in order to understand a piece of pop culture in the proper way. And the piece of pop culture is not automatically understandable from your current way of thinking. You have to immerse yourself in the culture from which it came from, or you don't have to go that far, but you have to sort of give your time to get warmed up to it in order to be able to properly get it properly.
Not necessarily don't immediately jump to conclusions.
Precisely. That's it. So we're going to be doing this Quackcast in different accents, of course. And no. Well, we might. No. We'll see. No. So before we get into anything, Quatermass is here to tell us about her featured comic this week, which was Comet Man. So please tell us about Comet Man.
Hello, this is Quatermass, and the feature I've selected for this week is Comet Man by GoKid9, and it is rated E for everyone. Christine LeBlanc has just been taken prisoner on board pirate trader Osarius' spaceship. Upon contact, small and strangely dressed Christine was mistaken for a Terrigan, but is actually from planet Earth. Osarius wishes to converse with Christine, who speaks both French and English, mainly because she is female. The brig requires that all merchandise belonging to prisoners is confiscated, including the meteorite Christine was carrying at the time of arrest. Magically by happenstance, Christine shares a secret link of communication with the greatest hero the galaxy has ever known, Comet Man. The art and style is drawn mostly in black and white. Dialogue is multilingual, oscillating between French, English, and alien language. Comet Man is a Blazing Penguin Comics production. Will Cadet Krogus of the Infinity Watch be released from his cell? Find out by reading Comet Man by GoKid9, rated E.
That was Quatermass with Rocket Man. No, not Rocket Man, Comet Man. But we know you're thinking it. So, next up, we're talking about the featured music that Gunwallace has given us, which is Unrestop Comics. And Restop. Okay, so, Gunwallace, what do I have to say about this theme? Well, it's Quatermass and the Pit. This is some freaky Delia Derbyshire early Doctor Who stuff. Freaky, fractured soundscapes of mind-twisting terror and wonder. This track sucks you into another dimension where you see with your ears and hear with your skin. Your brain will never be the same. So take it away, Gunwallace, with your theme to Unrestop Comics. was Gunwallace with Unrestopped Comics, which is a comic by Iago Skippy. I don't know. It's a good name, but I can't pronounce it. Rated E for everyone.
Oz is learning to speak backwards.
Yes.
Pretty much. Got Skippy. Okay, so we're talking about cultural context, and how you just can't automatically use your own experience of the mod world and think that automatically will help you understand things from different cultures and times. You have to immerse yourself, well, not necessarily immerse yourself, but you have to sort of give your time to adjust in order to get abreast of the stuff and to properly understand it and get it the way it's intended. And a great example of this was Baby It's Cold Outside, where there was a huge internet-driven kerfuffle, a Twitter-driven kerfuffle, where all the tweets tended to congregate. And people were saying, oh my god, it's so rapey, the song, I've always thought it was so rapey, and it's not rapey, it's just about a time where people used a particular style of flirty dancing around each other in order to, make their connections. But today we don't use that same kind of flirtiness because we don't need to, because there are different power dynamics. So, women no longer have to be as hidden in their intentions. They can't pretend they're as demure as they had to back then. They can be just as fully open and sexual as they intend to be these days. So, yeah, that's an example of people using today's cultural context in order to incorrectly misinterpret something from the past. But we can apply this same sort of thing to everything.
Mm-hmm.
There are different, a great example is when I read the Norse myths years and years ago, and I was reading through them, and it took me a while to get it, because obviously we have a very different cultural context now. We think of things in a very different way to how poor old Norsemen in... where were these Norse myths recorded in like 1000 AD, from culture that goes all the way back to 600 AD, and so that comes from a very different time, from people who are mainly stuck in their little agrarian society, very rural. It's very caste based, aristocratic, living in a terrible place that it's cold all the time, and there's not very much food, and there's a lot of war and all this kind of thing. People are always fighting. There's a lot of backbiting and suspicion about other people and all sorts of things. It's just a very specific cultural context for that time, and that means the people from that time relate to each other in a certain way. The people nowadays don't relate. I mean, when you're reading the Norse myths, you have to realize that a great source of humor for them is very rough kind of things. Like violence is a great source of humor, like hitting someone on the head and splitting their skull. It's hilarious to these Norse people. Very crude stuff, like these giants. When Loki, Odin, and Thor were trying to get away from these giants, one of them, a lady giant, stood up, and she, I think she had a period, and she let all her period blood go in this gully or whatever, and she was washing them away with that. That's hilarious to these Norse people from the time. But we look at that as being, some bizarre kind of thing. Like, oh, what the hell? Why is this? Is this gross? Is this some kind of female empowerment, or what's the symbolism? But for them, that was just a hilarious thing, because the humor was very crude and very basic then, for various reasons. So this was just basic humor for them, and this is a great example of this, missing cultural context. That you can understand it, but it just takes you a while. But the worst thing you can do is automatically apply your modern ways of thinking and modern biases and things to the past, which is what you should not do. So yeah, that's a great example. What about you guys? Tance, you were talking about a computer game where there's a good modern day example
Oh
of
yeah.
this.
Yeah. So I had this amazing experience that I didn't expect. Playing, I have this game that I play and I love. Um, I didn't expect, but I still love it. It's called Wizard 101, and it is basically a turn-based role play game. I think is the category where you play as a wizard that has a specific tool of magic and all that, and then you go on adventures and save the world multiple times in different worlds because their universe is a spiral and you go from world to world to help them out and defeat the big bad, very standard stuff. The thing about it is that in like every world is an homage to some kind of culture or pop culture thing or historical era or country, what have you. Like the latest one that dropped this Christmas was an homage to Australia, by the way. So,
Oh really? Oh
uh,
my god.
yeah, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. They did great with it. Um, but I'm pretty sure that it would mean a lot more to you, Oz, if you played through it. You would pick up a
Possibly,
lot
yeah.
more stuff than I did. Um, so there is this one world that is an homage to Star Trek. Like the entire world is an homage to Star Trek in different ways, and other like key pop culture figures of the time of peak Star Trek. Like we also have like a certain musical idols that make appearances in different ways, like David Bowie and stuff. Anyway, it is a love letter to our cohorts. But and I have because you can make a wizard for each school and play through the entire game as this different wizard, and it gives you different experiences depending on your school. I have played through this world 3 times already. So this was my fourth time. But the difference was that now I know Star Trek. Before, I was not a Star Trek person. So I didn't really know a lot of tidbits and aspects and facts
Yes.
about Star Trek and how the ships were and the holodeck. And all of that was completely unknown to me. And now that now I know about these things. And playing through this world was a completely different experience. It was amazing. Like I could understand a whole lot more of the entire interaction to the point that it felt like I was experiencing the world like as if it was fresh, like completely new to me. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
because now I had context for a lot of the little interactions that you have with NPCs that represent different parts of what they want to spoof and refer from Star Trek, and it was I was amazed and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Highly recommend the game, by the way.
What's
If
the
you
game called
want
again?
Wizard 101,
Wizard 101.
yeah, and it starts off really really simple and really like oriented to younger people, but it gets serious really fast and it is very relaxing for me without being easy. Like it has challenges that
Hmm.
you
Right.
have to strategize and stuff. It stops being for kids after the first world, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Just in the beginning, that's in the very get-go, that's based on specific cultural context. So I've got Harry Potter there, so that's the key wizards.
Hmm.
I mean, Harry Potter didn't invent the wizard school, but it did characterize it quite strongly in the way most people understand it. And the American college system, I think, of using 101 as a
Yes,
reference to introductory courses.
exactly.
Right.
And it goes to show it is one of the browser-based games that has been going on strong for I think 15 years now. So
Wow.
and it has a strong fan base. So I don't think that many games can boast this. Anyway, I really like it. Bottom line. So
That's cool. You've been playing it a long time, right? I remember
yeah,
you
I think
mentioning it a long
2
time ago.
years easy.
Yeah.
Now I'm on my third year, and I have 6 wizards.
Nice.
That I have to max them all, like give them max experience, make them all into tiny gods that can take on uh, divine NPCs that have like cosmic powers and stuff like that, and which is awesome. Like you start with the little things, and you have to deal like with some minor disturbances, and then you end up fighting the equivalent of Cthulhu. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, speaking of wizards, this reminded me of why we developed the idea for this topic in the first place. Because last time we were talking about love and the way people understand love, and then I don't know if we did it on the Quackcast, we did it afterwards, but we were talking about how people misunderstand the relationships in Tolkien. Well, I mean, no, we might have done it in Quackcast because we were talking about different
I
ways,
think it was on
different
the
aspects of
podcast.
love. Yeah, so there was like the love between the characters in Tolkien, you know, like Frodo and Sam and all this kind of stuff. How they have the servant master kind of relationship that's based on the Batman, which is the servant of an officer, and then that requires a particular cultural context. You to be aware of the cultural context in order for you to understand that. You can't just apply your modern day understanding of the world and be able to get what's going on there. You have to think about in the 1930s when this was conceived and see how society was back then in order to grasp that. So Tolkien is a great example of this because all this world was created by someone who was, you know, had his formative years in the 1910s, 20s, 1930s, and that really did influence his outlook. And these characters are based on this because what Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings, I think, in the 1930s, 1940s, something like this, back then. Maybe, I don't know. So he was very much sort of still inured in that culture. And so this is the world these characters are based on. So you can't just use your modern day understanding in order to work out what's happening. You have to somewhat be able to grasp that world in order to properly grasp and get the whole thing. Although it's not very far away from our world. We haven't changed that much. But it still has changed. I mean, there's like, in our modern day, we're more egalitarian. In some places more than others. The society Tolkien was writing from was very caste-based. The British aristocracy, there's a very specific kind of setup that was in existence then. So you can sort of think about the different characters and where they come from and where they sit in their society as being members of those different castes. That reflects, you know, the world that Tolkien was living in. Now, he hasn't deliberately written The Lord of the Rings as a one-to-one reflection of his world at the time, but it is because it just happens to be his way of thinking based on the world he existed in, you know? So we have all these different I can't really remember what the people of Minas Tirith, I think, and then the Rohirrim. Yeah, there we are, the Rohirrim, and the people from the Elrond's world, Rivendell. Yeah, there we are, Rivendell.
Yeah.
And
if I recall, and I didn't
Rivendell.
really pay attention as much, but I think that being forest elves is somehow like lower in the rank than being other kinds of elves. So Legolas is a prince, but he's like a forest elf, I think, and so he doesn't necessarily carry the same status as other elves and blah blah blah. Yeah, that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, which later morphed into high elves and wood elves and all this kind of stuff from Dungeons and Dragons. But
this is a good element that you mentioned for cultural context. The manifestation of respect, how you show respect in different cultures, can be vastly different. Because, like for example, something as simple as whether you hold someone's gaze or you avert your eyes is completely different from culture to culture. Like in Greece, if you don't look someone in the eyes when they are talking to you, is considered extremely disrespectful. You should and potentially like shady, like what are you hiding, sort of thing. So if you like Greek people, without even realize they are doing it, they will tend to look you like straight in the eyes, stare almost. and that is because if they don't do that, they are not being respectful. So, in other cultures, looking someone in the eyes is what is disrespectful, and you have to avert your gaze or look down in order to show respect. For example.
I mean, you'd be challenging someone if you're staring them in the eyes. So that could be a sign of aggression.
Yes.
So, this is important.
But if you come to Greece, just look people in the eyes. That's what they like.
It's good to know. Yeah. But I mean, doesn't that apply to animals as well? Like some animals, if you look too long in their eyes, it's a kind of aggression. So it's kind of deeper than culture in a way, right? There are things that are kind of, I guess, instinctual.
Some animals, when they look away, it's considered a sign of submission. Yeah, but that's not for all animals. It depends. It's very different depending on the animal.
Yeah, absolutely.
The sweet dog will stare at you 24 hours a day.
Yes.
Unblinking.
I'm blinking and trying to be as cute as possible, which is which can be funny. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, my male dog Galekos is on the large side. He's large. He's a large dog, and he is not built for being cute. I find him super cute. I think he's a really handsome dog, but he doesn't have the cuteness that goes with puppy eyes. So he is the funniest thing when he sort of looks in your eyes and says, "Look at how cute I am." He's super funny, and I love him for it because he's supposed to be like this big boxy design of a dog with a slightly drooling snout, and he's trying to pull his sister's cute act.
Doesn't
and he can't. Yeah.
One of the funny things about dogs is they have a lot of the same muscles around the eyes that humans do. So a lot of the expressions they can come up with around their eyes are quite similar. So this helps us relate to them. So we have a lot of similar brain structures relating to recognition of facial expression that dogs do, which is quite interesting. But then people apply that. See, a good example of like incorrect cultural context is people apply that to other animals and think, oh, this animal must be reacting to me, you know, friendly or aggressive. And cats, that's a great example. They think cats, the way they look at us, must be the way, you know, humans think, or the way a dog looks at us. But they can get it completely wrong. People who don't know cats always get it wrong. When a cat's like staring at you and like doing a squint, they think, oh, that's a sign of aggression. This cat hates me. And they don't realize that is a sign of joy. This cat is smiling at you. This means the cat loves you. If it's doing the old
affection. That's always affection when they squint or they close their eyes at you a little bit, like this. They do this closing of the eyes, and then they just open slits of eyes instead. Like they don't. That's affection. They are giving you little kisses, like Korean guys do with their hands.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there we are. Cultural context applies to non-human creatures. Very much so. Yeah. Like if you've ever been stared at by an angry bunny or an angry guinea pig, oh my God. The cold black eyes of the shark.
Wow. Hasn't happened to me, but wow.
Stare into your soul. Oh my God. I don't know. There are a lot of non-human animals that I just cannot find a handle on, and I just can't understand their expressions. You know, like snakes and things like that.
Well, you would need to,
rats,
I guess, to live with them enough and interact. Like, for example, I'm sure Vicky, like used books, would completely be able to translate rat expressions, for example.
Yeah, the different ways they have. Yeah, and I'm sure they can be just as lovely and cute as any other creature.
Yeah.
And Koreans doing hand kisses, which I've never known about. So what's that dance?
Oh, well, and it's starting to become like very much a pop culture zeitgeist thing nowadays with the advent of K-pop and K-drama being super popular internationally. But there are the Koreans, at least the way that I have seen it outside looking in, when they pose for photos, or when they want to be cute and be positive towards another person, they do this very non-romantic gesture of love, which is like they bring like their thumb and index finger together, and they twist it a little bit like this, and this is like the bottom corner of a heart. So they are giving a heart.
They're doing, it's like almost like a flick of the fingers.
Without flick. It is and of course there is this other thing where they put their both hands on their face, and that is another heart. And they snap photos a lot like this,
yes,
like this.
So
or they do the victory symbol. They have to be doing something in their photos.
Oh, I like that. Now you said victory symbol, so this is like the original term for that. The two fingers, the bunny ears, as it used to be known. So, but it's become since known as the peace sign, which was what it was in the 1960s.
Yes,
but
true.
Say in the 1940s, it was developed V for victory as a celebration of like World War II victory over Germany, and that's what it was all around the world. And for some reason, that got changed to peace sign in the 1960s. I can't remember. I maybe I knew once, but that's specific. That's very culturally specific because hippies used to do that, and it was very much like ban the bomb and protesting Vietnam War. Very much an American thing. But since then, but in Japan, it became popular to do this for cute girls being cute in photos and things, and for anime characters and manga characters to do this. And they do it when they're doing a cute expression, and they do the little the symbol. And people call it a peace sign, but it's got nothing to do with peace. there's no cultural context for peace for these characters. They don't care about protesting war. They don't care about banning the bomb.
It's more of it's more of a like a positive gesture.
It's not
more than like a vague positive gesture.
It's I mean, it could have possibly originated with the victory thing because maybe that's a positive thing, like victory. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm awesome, but that's as much as I can glean.
And in Greece, the victory sign is not necessarily that we are victorious right now, but the we shall overcome gesture. So we had a lot of political prisoners, especially during the time of the junta, as they were being like exiled or taken away to really nasty things, and they would like you wouldn't be able to see them. Just they could like poke their hands out from armored vehicles and stuff like that, and they would they would do the V sign, like I am not, my spirit goes strong. I am not.
Yeah, they're not trodden down. They're not.
Exactly. So you will see it a lot in protests over here. Like people don't just go like this, like in Korea, for photos. They do this during demonstrations and stuff like that. So you expect to see it there a lot.
So it's got meaning, yes, but not the meaning that you'd automatically think. The whole peace sign bullshit. Say in America, it had since obviously it's I don't know, like say victory, and then 1960s peace, and then you have these like rappers and in rap culture, people go peace out, and they do that symbol, and of course that has no meaning for peace at all. It has absolutely no relationship to peace. It is just a symbol of I don't even know, but it's nothing to do with peace. And even when they're saying peace out, they don't care about peace. It's like
it's just a different turn of phrase.
Communication.
Like I would take it as it's I would take it peace out. Like this is a phrasal verb for me. That means I'm leaving.
I'm leaving. Yeah.
And that's it.
Exactly. So it changes a lot, and you can't automatically say, "Oh yeah." Like if they're doing a victory sign and that has that meaning because not to them it means something very different. So it's and you have to understand what they're meaning and why they're meaning it. This is a great example of that whole thing.
And there is the concept of cultural shift, like things, the meaning assigned to things changes over generations. Like the word gay, for example, it just literally meant happy once upon a time. Now it doesn't just mean happy. It is also like the word for people that are homosexual. So
well, they did change, like in the late 90s, that it meant lame, and it meant stuff that was just, and that wasn't
there was that
an anti-gay thing. That was just like just lame, as in awkward or dorky or something like that, and then it was taken back again to be sexuality again. So it's quite interesting the way things change back. And
and for another context, in Greece we have a nasty word, a cuss word, that means gay. Well, not gay like I'm saying it like now. It is a bad word for a gay person. And both gays and straight and in between people use it to mean someone that is sly, underhanded, and backstabbing. And it is never used to describe an actual gay person.
Right, interesting.
It has completely been stripped of the connotation of objectively describing someone. Like if someone uses that word to say you are gay, you will not take it that they are telling you that you are homosexual or even accusing you, because it is a curse word. You will immediately take it that you are being told that you are a sly, backstabbing. So, yeah. And I'm honestly impressed that it has endured, because this is a very old word that meant this thing. Whereas we do have other words for gay that mean gay people, describe gay people. And it's a word that it literally is being used by everyone to mean that. And it has lost all its context.
So people have to understand how it's changed to have a different meaning. You can't...
Exactly. But if someone learning the language hears it, they will think that, oh my God, how homophobic is everyone.
Right.
But it has nothing to do with that. It's completely devoid of that context.
It's changed. Well, it's like a term like Dexter and sinister, which means right, which means left and right. Dexter and also Dexter is right, sinister is left, but there are connotations there. So obviously, we all know sinister has the obvious connotation of being like evil or suspicious.
Yes.
Or underhand. Whereas if someone's Dexter, that just means that they're like right, or it could mean that they're capable, or dexterous. It can mean that they're have great facility with their hands.
Used to be nerdy, wasn't it? Or was that, it did have to be Poindexter?
As a name, Dexter is nerdy. Yeah.
But as a slang term, maybe this is going back some years, like Dexter or Poindexter. Maybe Poindexter was the insult for nerdy.
Yeah, which comes from a different place again. That's an American thing, because they see people with this sort of. I would guess that it's like it's sort of a Jewish sort of name, because often a lot of Jewish names were seen as being like quite dorky, quite nerdy in a way, and they kind of. And especially if you watch a lot of American movies and things from the, I don't know, the 70s, 60s as well, there's always this Jewish nerdy character with glasses. And they're called something like Poindexter or a similar kind of name. And I think that's probably where that comes from.
Makes sense.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But yeah, that seems to have been a thing.
I've only heard it a little bit. It's kind of before my time, but I have heard it, like maybe in older movies or from older people. It'll pop up once in a while, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Let me immerse in that culture and understand if you just insulted me, or if you just insulted me.
Yeah. So this is why it's important to sort of work out where things come from and why they're like they are, why they are like they are.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that reminds me, like a little bit of a funny tidbit. Doesn't happen anymore because cultural exchange is helping a lot with these things. But there was this, like a few years ago, our basketball team, like the national basketball team, played, I think, the New Zealand one. I think so, if I'm not mistaken. Like, forgive me if I misplace who does what. And I think the New Zealanders are the ones that start with a haka dance before any game.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally that is a rugby thing, but I suppose the basketballers would have adopted it as well.
Yeah, they do that. So the first time that the Greek team and the audience saw this, it was incredibly disrespectful. It was it was basically cause for a feud. Like, that's how disrespectful it was for modern audiences. Like, everyone was going at Twitter saying, what the blip are they doing? We have to protect our honor and stuff like that. Why? Because it wasn't the dancing. We love dancing as well, but it was the way of dancing and the sticking the tongue out and doing certain movements that I cannot describe right now. I could show in a clip that in Greek culture are completely disrespectful. It's like they are telling us that we are like the scum of the earth. That was the meaning translated. It wasn't like we are trying to intimidate you and we're coming for you, which would be fine. We like that.
Yeah.
It would be like we consider you like more disgusting than the devil level of slight. And you can see it in the expressions of the basketball players, how they are so pissed. They are so pissed. It's funny, like, and then you can also see it in how they played that particular game, where they were super aggressive and they didn't. I think they didn't do many fouls or stuff like that, but they were going for the jugular against these New Zealanders because they couldn't understand that this was a word dance that meant completely different things to what it meant to us.
Oh,
but nowadays they are aware and it's fine.
Yeah.
But at first time, it was a whole thing. It was being discussed. Like, how dare they? How is this? How is this decent at all? Like that's
the old culture clash, which is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I really wonder if they ever understood that this was super offensive and not warlike. It didn't appear warlike to us. It was just an offensive gesture of like giving the bird on steroids.
That haka is quite interesting. Yeah, traditionally it was only the rugby players that did it, but the basketball players have since probably adopted it because about pride and nationalism and all that kind of stuff. It's a cultural symbol. But a lot of the other Polynesian peoples have their own thing that they do. I remember my ex and I were quite interested, and we looked at all different videos of all the different other Polynesian peoples, and just to see, Hawaiians and Samoans and Sumatrans and whoever else, and to see all the different versions, and it's quite fascinating, and they're nothing the same at all. So the Maori one, or Māori as they're known there, they're quite it does seem very aggressive and very offensive, very warlike, whereas a lot of the others tend to be a bit more like, I'm not sure, like accommodating and friendly and dancey, and nowhere near as manly as the Māori version. It's quite striking. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating to see the differences and wonder why they exist, because apparently even though the Māori version looks very aggressive and warlike, it's not meant to be. So I'm not sure why.
The thing is, the more that like now I have seen a lot of it myself, and I can appreciate it for what it is. I like it, honestly. And it is a completely different reaction that is caused in me by seeing it than that first time. That was the first time I had seen it, by the way. I didn't know what it was, which goes to show. And I would say the same for example, traditional costumes from different cultures. They might seem ridiculous to someone outside the culture.
They can do, yeah.
Like I remember, I remember when Pitface first came to Greece, I took her to a traditional dance festival. Not a festival; it was like a night for demonstrating different traditional dances. And she told me at some point that we had a lot of people in traditional dress dancing and doing things like that, and they were a lot. There were a lot of fustanellas. Fustanellas are the skirts the guys wear, and they come in different sizes and shapes and stuff like that, depending on the region. Blah blah blah. So as they were dancing this very manly dance in skirts, she turned and told me at one point, "Well, now they look very manly, like this clothing." And it was very natural. I mean, I felt that it was the most natural thing of her to say, because she saw them in context of how they were worn.
Right.
So how they were worn, how the person, like how the man wearing this particular skirt, how the way you wear an article of clothing makes the article of clothing. So there are certain ways. Like a woman would never wear a fustanella because it's not considered a female article of clothing. You would be cross-dressing, literally. So,
I mean, speaking of like Greek outfits, when you see the changing of the guards sort of thing in front of the parliament, it's or a lot of, not necessarily the parliament, but some guard stations. It's popular to have, you told me this, I remember, have an extremely tall, thin guy dressed in this outfit. Like
yes.
He's got like tight sort of leg-hugging tights sort of thing, and he's got a fustanella as well. He's an incredibly tall, skinny person. He's got a fez on his head with a big, long tassel, and he's got these huge shoes with pom-poms on the ends. And this stuff is sort of culturally like indicates a comedic thing, like if you know Monty Python or John Cleese, where people tend to be kind of in that form. So you automatically think, and the walking as well, like often emphasizes big long strides with the legs and careful placement of the feet and stuff like that. So you automatically think, hang on, is this a comedy thing? But then it takes a while for it to click and think, no, this is like meant to be like more warlike and manly and aggressive. But
it is a showing off of balance and control. So this is what I can do just standing, and how much control I have of my body and my rifle, because they also have this heavy rifle that they hold and all that.
Big old-fashioned wooden ones. But yeah, you've just got to. It takes a time until you can really know what's happening. So this is always annoys me with the when people say like I don't know, when they talk about like the Catholic priesthood and stuff like that, and they say, oh, a man in a dress is, angry about, gay people or something like that, and they're just like using that our cultural context of no men in dresses, and they think, yes, a man in a dress, and he's very flamboyant and stuff, and he's basically a tranny, and they say that about like the Pope or bishops and stuff like this, whereas that's a complete, and you do that in order, because that's what comedy is based on, deliberate misunderstandings. One of the ways comedy is based on, but that's a completely untrue. There's nothing feminine about the way a Catholic priest dresses, or a Catholic bishop or a pope or whatever dresses, that is based on that particular cultural context. And there's like hundreds and hundreds of years behind that. And it's, to me, obviously the comedy, I don't think the comedy is that clever because it's so basic. It's so low-hanging fruit. What's interesting...
Yeah, I sort of appreciate it though, because there is some irony to be had there. Because yes, it has different symbolism. Like, for example, our priests that wear like the black dresses, the black robes, those are supposed to be mourning garments. So of the Byzantine times. So when back then you were in mourning, you would wear basically a black sheet over you, like not real clothes, to be in mourning for having lost someone. So that's what they are wearing, and this is a reference to a quote by Jesus, who said that you should be merry while I am here with you, and you can mourn while I am away until I return. So that's what they are doing, basically.
Whereas the Catholic clothes are sort of based on, at least for the hierarchy there, they're based on what, kings and things would wear, because that's their position within that role. And so if you go back in time, like 400, 500, 600, 700, 1,000 years, this is what royalty would have worn. So that's that particular cultural origin.
Which is why the Orthodox look down their noses at the Catholics, like, you are not being servants of the people because you wear all this bling that is for royalty, whereas we are a lot more awesome than you are because we are humble.
The opposite would be, oh, you're peasants, you're not dressed like us in our finery. What are you talking about?
And then you are not honoring the glory of God because you wear like piss poor clothes, which were not, of course, poor clothes, because the high-ranking priests wear a lot of gold and a lot of bling. They just hang it over the mourning black clothes.
It's very interesting. Like when I was originally coming up with my hussar outfit. So hussar is a weird term, and people relate it to these Polish hussars, heavy cavalry, and that's a particular version of hussars. And there's a light hussars from Hungary, and which were popular in the 1800s, 19th century. So anyway, when I was coming out with my hussar outfit, it's based on the Prussian Leibhussar, which is black and silver, and it just looks freaking awesome to me. But the typical hussar outfit is like peacock colors, like absolute multi-colors, and these black hussar costumes are very unusual, very, very unusual. There's almost no examples of that in like military history. It's only this Prussians and Brunswick hussars, two particular German ones. So that it requires a bit of cultural understanding to work out why that was like that. And that doesn't come from the fact that, Germans like being black and sophisticated or like sinister or whatever. It comes from very particular cultural weirdness of the time they developed. Like it was specific about mourning, but also sort of like not nationalism necessarily, but you're mourning your country when it becomes invaded, and this is like it's their way of showing respect or for that time, for their country, and mourning it being invaded. And also the death symbolism is very popular with these black hussars, because and that's often taken to be aggressive. People look at like their wearing of skulls and stuff like that and think, oh my god, they mean they're evil. This is like this is all about death and visiting death upon other people. There was also French a version as well, Mort Hussar or something like this. But the wearing of the skull has nothing to do with like wishing death upon others. It's your own death. It means that you remember that you're mortal. Yeah, you remember that you're mortal, and that you will. Your own self is basically these people could become suicide troops in that their loyalty is to the death, basically. So, but you wouldn't understand that just from looking at them. People look at these kind of hussars using the modern kind of version of it, which is, say, the Nazis or the SS, who wore the skulls, and they had the black and silver uniforms. They automatically think, aha, they're a great example of that kind of evil. But yeah, you have to know where it comes from. And that's another thing, like Nazis. We look at them as
they painted so many symbols, the Nazis, like...
Oh, they stole everything. But we look at these Nazis and we think, people look at them and go, oh my god, they were so sophisticated and stylish, they're Nazi officers and the way they're dressed. They don't realize...
Yes, that's always the first thought we have when we think of Nazis.
Yeah. Yes! We look at the outfits and we go, oh, yeah, I mean, evil, but...
Oh, it's so stylish. Those stylish guys. You know who you mean. Yeah, they're those really stylish characters.
But people don't realize that they're actually wearing retro outfits that were stolen from the British and the Americans. There's nothing stylish at all in that. They're just absolutely conservative to the so conservative that they steal the officer uniforms from their enemies that beat them 30 years before. It's
right.
It's bizarre.
It's a little pathetic too, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. Well, actually, the Quackcast is going to end now. Oh my god! So this is weird cultural context stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a huge subject, and it applies to everything. And God, we could just get into so many different things. So yeah, this has been the Cultural Context cast number 676. Wow, weird number.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Okay, it's gonna go soon. Bye bye. Be culturally aware in context, and see you next time.
Oh baby, it's cold outside.
You know.